Who... who are you?
My name is Zuko.
Have you ever done everything right and still felt defeated? You were honest, you chose growth, and somehow it still wasn't enough. Zuko alone doesn't open with a battle. It opens with stillness. And by the end, what breaks isn't something you can see, it's something deeper. The episode starts with just Zuko, and the long, aching road ahead of him. No friends, no Iroh, no audience. His water's gone. He rides through a dry, cracked Earth Kingdom landscape, and his money's almost nothing. And for once, there's no war to fight, no mission to chase, just the weight of his own choices, and nowhere left to hide from them. This isn't the banished prince we've come to know. This is something smaller, rawer, a boy without a war to fight or a destiny to follow. And that's what makes it terrifying, because most of us aren't afraid of being alone. We're afraid of who we might be when there's no one left to perform for. And let's be honest, sometimes when the audience disappears and the mask comes off, what's underneath isn't some noble truth. It's anxiety. It's weird coping habits. It's you eating cereal over the sink at 1 a.m., wondering if your therapist is secretly disappointed in you. But hey, at least it's you, finally. But here's what I want you to know. If you're at that moment right now, standing in the quiet after your world has unraveled, you're not broken. You're not lost. You're just unmasked. And while that might feel terrifying, it's also the beginning. Zuko arrives in a dusty town, exhausted and starving. He doesn't ask for much, just food and water. But when a local child, Lee, throws an egg at a group of thuggish soldiers, Zuko stays silent. He protects the boy, quietly. He doesn't fight. He doesn't speak up. He just stands there, and still, he gets punished for it. The soldiers steal what little he has, because in a world ruled by fear, even neutrality is a threat. Silence is rebellion. And kindness? Kindness looks weak. That's Zuko's first defeat in this episode. Not a battle lost, a moment of restraint, met with cruelty. But Lee sees something else. He brings Zuko home, and for the first time in a long time, Zuko is treated not as a fugitive, not as a prince, not as a threat, but as a guest. And he doesn't know what to do with that. He helps around the farm. He eats dinner quietly. He teaches Lee to use dual swords. He doesn't even share his name. He moves through the house like a shadow, helpful, polite, emotionally unavailable. Not exactly warm, but it's the most at peace he's been in months. Because when you've only been loved for your strength, it's hard to accept love without a price. And maybe you've felt that too. Maybe you've walked into a space where people saw the softest parts of you, and you didn't know if you were safe, if you even deserved it. If that's you, if your softness scares you more than your anger ever did, I hope you give yourself permission to stay. You don't have to be hard to be worthy. You don't have to be useful to be loved. There is courage in letting someone care for you, even when your instinct says to disappear. Flashbacks begin to flicker, like memories we don't want but can't escape. Zuko as a child, still soft around the edges, desperate to matter in a palace built on fire and fear. We see Ursa, his mother, his lifeline. The only warmth in a house that taught him love was conditional. We see Azula, already twisting affection into manipulation, and Ozai looming like a shadow over everything tender. In these moments, Zuko isn't the banished prince. He's just a boy trying to be good in a place that punished goodness. But the wound that never fully closes, the one that defines him, is when his mother disappears, gone in the night. No answers, just a whisper. Never forget who you are. But how do you remember who you are when the only person who ever saw you clearly is gone? That loss doesn't just echo, it shapes him. Zuko's fire isn't just power, it's armor, it's grief. It's the only language he was ever taught to speak when he felt small. He was raised to believe love had to be earned, through pain, through obedience, through control. And now, walking through a broken world that still sees him as a threat, he's trying to unlearn that story, while being punished every time he chooses differently. The soldiers come back with news. Lee's older brother, the one off fighting the war, has been captured, maybe worse. And something in Zuko recoils. He starts packing his things, because trauma teaches you one thing above all else: leave before you're left. That's what survival looks like when you've only ever known conditional love. You don't stay, you don't protect, you disappear. But Lee, the boy who saw something good in him, asks, "When my dad goes, will you stay?" And the question hits deeper than any sword, because Zuko wants to stay, so badly. But he doesn't believe he deserves to, so he does what he always does. He gives a piece of himself away, the dagger from Iroh, The one that says, never give up without a fight. And then he leaves because that's what pain taught him. You are safer alone. But that belief shatters when Lee's mother returns, sobbing. The soldiers have taken Lee. If he's old enough to resist, they said, he's old enough to fight. And this time, Zuko doesn't run. He returns to town not as a nameless wanderer, but as something more resolved, still broken, still unsure, but standing taller. He faces the men who took the boy, looks them in the eye, and says what no one else will. You're not soldiers, you're bullies, cowards hiding behind a war. And then he fights. Not to prove anything, not to win anyone over, but because he won't let another child be taken. He uses his swords with precision, with control. But the leader, Gao, escalates, hurling stone after stone until Zuko is knocked to the ground, bloodied, winded, the crowd silent. Lee watches, terrified, and in that stillness, Zuko remembers her voice. Never forget who you are. He rises and he bends fire, not to conquer, not for pride, but to protect. And that's the heart of the episode. Not that Zuko wins, but that he chooses how to win. He takes the one thing that made the world fear him, his fire, and uses it with purpose, not power. And still, they recoil. Even Lee, the boy he risked everything for, screams, I hate you. Because here's the truth no one prepares us for. You can do everything right and still be rejected. You can pour everything you've got into healing and still be seen as a scar instead of a person. If that's where you are right now, if you've made the brave choice to change and still feel unloved, please hear this. You didn't fail. You just grew past the place that could only accept the old you. That pain, that silence, that rejection, it's not proof that you're wrong. It's proof that you were strong enough to evolve, even when no one asked you to. Zuko walks away alone, just like he arrived. But something in him has shifted. He's not hiding. He's not pretending. He's not trying to be anything other than what he is. Someone who stood up, even when it cost him the only kindness he'd been offered. And maybe that's what Zuko alone really teaches us. That growth doesn't always feel like transformation. Sometimes it feels like quiet loss, like walking away with nothing but your own truth. But that truth is sacred, not glamorous, not easy, but sacred. Growth doesn't come with a trophy. It comes with dark circles under your eyes, boundary-setting regrets, and a deep appreciation for tea and long walks where no one asks you how you're doing. Because real growth, it isn't loud. It's in the quiet decision to keep rising, even when the world still calls you broken. It's in showing up with softness, even when no one returns it. And honestly, growth doesn't come with a trophy, but it does come with better boundaries, fewer panic texts, and the ability to walk away without guilt, which should absolutely count for something. And remember, the path gets quieter before it gets clearer. You're not walking in circles. You're walking yourself home. And if you need someone on the road, we're right here with you. If this story felt like yours, if you've walked the path between the person you were and the person you're trying to become, like, subscribe.